So before before I get started, let me share some housekeeping items with you all. So we're gonna please ask you to stay on mute during the presentations and invite you to submit any questions you have for the speaker or um, the hosts during I'm sorry, as part of the in the chat. So we would appreciate if you would do that. This webinar is being recorded and it's going to be made available on the city's website following the program. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to email legacybusiness@lacity.org. So we're going to start with a poll question. And we'd love to know when your business, for those business owners online, when was your business established? So if you could let us know, the poll should be coming up, and just let us know what decade your business was established. Okay, we'll wait a little bit longer for people to respond. Okay, I think we can end the poll. Looks like most business owners started their business in the 1980s, but we do have some folks who started their business as early as in the 1960s. Amazing. Congratulations for all of you for continuing to be in operation. So my name is Rosalind Sagara, and I will be serving as today's moderator. I'm the Neighborhood Outreach Manager with Los Angeles Conservancy, and we are a local nonprofit organization that works to recognize, preserve, and revitalize historic places across the city and the county of Los Angeles. The Conservancy is proud to have developed the Legacy Business Toolkit in partnership with the City of Los Angeles. This is a free digital resource that offers valuable information, resources, and expert referrals on a variety of topics. And this webinar is part of the City of Los Angeles's Legacy Business Toolkit webinar series, which really aims to introduce audiences to this newly launched toolkit. And we do hope that you will take advantage of it. It is free and available in multiple languages on the city's website. And so today we're going to be delving deeper into the topic of government contracting. And before I introduce our guest speaker, I'm going to invite Nissa Buck from the city to tell us a little bit more about the Legacy Business Program.
Thanks, Roslyn. So we've always said that small businesses are the backbone of our city. And in order to support these businesses that have been around for so long, Council launched the Legacy Business Program back in February 2024. So the definition of a legacy business is a business that's been around for at least 20 years in their same community. They have to meet 3 of the following 4 criteria: contribute significantly to its community's history or identity, sustain and cultivate distinctive cultural traditions or practices, the business is not franchised or affiliated with national corporate chain, or they provide vital goods and services in a language and manner that is culturally accessible to their community. So if you're not already enrolled and you feel like you meet these criteria, definitely fill out the application so you can join us. Right now, we have 710 legacy businesses throughout the city. And part of the program's benefits is we'll provide promotional activities. You'll be featured on our website. We send a promotional toolkit that includes like a window cling and stickers like the one pictured. And hopefully this will lead to increased visibility and exposure to new customers. Another exclusive for legacy businesses is we do have a grant only for legacy businesses up to $20,000 and you have to be already enrolled. And we just closed round two, but round three will be opening next year, so you still have plenty of time to get in for that. And as Rosalind went over, is we do have the Legacy Business Toolkits available, and that's our website to get to our application as well as just see our registry, and you can research the different businesses there already.
Uh, so I'd like to introduce our speaker. Our guest speaker is Cristina Espiritu. She is a procurement manager with PACE, which stands for Pacific Asian Consortium in Employment. She is a distinguished professional with a dual JD MBA degree from Penn State University and brings over 2 decades of experience in finance, strategic counseling, consulting, contract negotiation, and business and asset valuation. She has offered her expertise to organizations ranging from startups up to publicly traded companies, helping them develop and identify strategies to propel growth and maximize value. She has also been an entrepreneur and sold her first business in college. Since then, she has founded several companies and organizations in diverse sectors, including technology, marketing, and health and wellness. She has served and held leadership roles on the board of director positions in nonprofit organizations, as well as served as a mentor for incubator programs in Asia, Europe, and Latin America. Cristina is also a trained mediator, certified by the Orange Human Relations Mediation Program. Also, I would like to say and thank Cristina for helping us develop the toolkit that focuses on government contracting. And so we are really excited to welcome her today. Cristina.
Yeah, thank you, Rosalind, and thank you, Nisa, for this opportunity to talk about, I would say, one of my favorite topics, which is procurement. So thank you for the opportunity. First, I just wanted to do an introduction. Oh, we already did the housekeeping item, so we don't need to do that. First, I just an introduction about PACE. So, as Rosalind had mentioned, PACE is Pacific Asian Consortium in Employment, and we are a nonprofit organization that was established 50 years ago. So this year is actually our 50th year anniversary. And so what we do is we have many different sectors, but I'm part of the Business Development Center, and we help entrepreneurs with various training, so anything and consulting, different matters. So what I concentrate on is procurement. So I'm part of the procurement team for PACE. And so one of the programs that we have is a special program called ProcureLA, and ProcureLA is a, partnership that we have with the City of LA Mayor's Office, Karen Bass, and so we are basically the procurement arm for the city. So if you have any, let's say, we connect small businesses with the LA's big opportunities. And so as many of you know, there are many opportunities that are coming to LA in the next few years. Olympics obviously is a big thing, but people also may know FIFA, which is next year, and then there's also NFL. So I actually already had clients who are shortlisted for FIFA and shortlisted for the NBA in next year. But it's not too late because you can ask me questions later. But there are bid interest forms that are coming in still for FIFA. I think right now it's still open for a few vetted vendors, but we can talk about that later. Yeah, but so through Procure LA program, you have to be a for-profit business operating within the city of LA, and you have to be active since COVID, so around 2020. So for many of you are legacy businesses, that's a piece of cake. You're already qualified. And then you have to be in good standing with the Secretary of State and you have to have a brick and mortar. However, if you don't qualify under Procure LA, we do have different opportunities as well in procurement. We have different procurement programs under the state where we can help you with your procurement needs as well. Right. So let's get started. Just a couple things that we'll talk about. One is the overview of procurement, and then second is overview of what contract ready really means, and then the key steps of procurement, just like a brief overview of what procurement is and the steps, and then some procurement terms, and then best practices. So, if you do have any questions, feel free to put your questions on the chat, and then I'll try to respond to it. when they, if either Nisa or Rosalind reads the questions. So first, what is procurement? So I know procurement is such a daunting, sometimes it's just this heavy, daunting word, right? But then at the end of the day, procurement is very simple. It's just a process of like a government or an agency buying goods and services from many different business owners like you. And the biggest thing with procurement is that people think, oh, we're only procuring construction, right? Or like engineering. But as I was telling Nisa and Rosalind earlier, one of the funny procurement opportunities that's in a couple years ago was this, I think it was the county of LA procuring or looking for DJs and entertainment, right? So it's very, very unusual. People didn't think of that as part of procurement, but it is there. And so, just a poll question if you want to put your answers in the chat. Have you ever had experience with government procurement? So, in many different levels, right? So, procurement is either in the city, county, state, or the federal level. So, if you have any experience in any of those levels, feel free to put your responses on the chat. Okay. Yeah, and I'm curious to see how many of you have had experience. So first thing is is your business contract ready, right? Because at the end of the day, procurement is about procuring contracts, right? You're getting a government contract. And so the biggest question is, are you ready for getting a contract? And what does ready actually look like? So contract ready really means like if someone gives you a contract, are you ready to actually perform, right? And actually do the contract. And so that requires many different things. Are you financially ready? Are you operationally ready? And so operationally ready means that, if someone says, okay, we have this sorry, my phone just keeps on ringing. Yeah. So if operationally ready just means, do you have your structure in place? Do you have your labor in place in order to actually perform on the contract? So for example, a contract ready business is prepared, equipped, and positioned to have the financial stability to bid upon contracts and maintain the product or service at a level where they can perform, right? And then financially ready means it's really a big thing with contracts because with a lot of the government contracts, the payment terms may be longer than what you're normally used to if it's something that's private. So then you can have a 60-day term or like 45 net term, which is longer than some of the like the 30-day terms that you may have seen in a private contract. And then the contract for categories for goods and services include, are you a prime contractor? So many of you may have heard, oh, I'm a prime or I'm a subprime. So basically, at the end of the day, a prime is just the one that, let's say there's a contract, the prime is the one that is responsible for the contract. They're the ones that sign, right? So they're the primary organization or company that responds to the contract. And then a subcontractor are the ones that they hire. So they may hire them as vendor or a subcontractor under like a bigger guise of products and services. So just to give you an example, let's say there's a construction contract and then let's say it's a multi-million dollar contract, but under that you have many different services. You may have services for acoustics, or you may have services for lighting, for different parts of the construction project for demolition. So the prime contractor is the one that actually hires those subcontractors and are actually responsible for them. And then other things of what contract ready means is that you offer a high quality product or service, right? And so another thing that people look at is your online presence. So your website and your marketing, does it show that you have a business with propositional value? And then that you've developed a robust capability statement. So typically, what happens is that the first things when I onboard someone through PACE, one of the things I ask is that do you have a capability statement? And it's a statement that is a business resume. So it shows you what your if you were, let's say you have your personal resume, a business resume is just a resume of your company. So it shows the differentiators and then the past performance that you have done and other information that will really tell the potential the potential buyer of your service who you really are. And then also, can you demonstrate that your company has the ability to fulfill the contracts, right? And do you possess the required small business certifications? So some of you may have heard about certifications, and you may already have them. So there's a local small business enterprise certification that you can get through the city. There's also one that you can get through California, the Department of General Services. So a lot of these contracts, they don't require that you have a certification, but it does give you a little bit of added points if you do. And so that doesn't mean though that, let's say, if I always call it like extra credit. So let's say if you're grading, if your proposal is being graded and you're getting a B, let's say you're getting an 88% and someone has 92%, right? So a certification may give you the added points to bring maybe up to a couple points, but then it might not necessarily have you be awarded the contract if the points you have in the original proposal are pretty far, right? Let's say if it's like 5 or 6 points, it may not give you the adequate the adequate points to actually be the first one in tier. But yeah, so then also having registering your business with major vendor portals as well. And then we'll talk about that later. Yeah, so these are just the ways, right? So when you talk about like, by the end of the day, being contract ready means, are you really ready to perform on the contract and perform on them well? Because whether you're a contractor or a subcontractor, a lot of times if this is your first time looking at a contract or performing on it, you want to make sure that you put your best foot forward. So question number 2 is, what can you do to make your business contract ready? So first question actually, it should be, do you think your business is contract ready? And if you're not, think about this and see if there are any ways that you can think of to make your business contract ready, right? All right, so I'll just give you like a second or two to do that. All right. So now, so for many of you who may not know the steps in procurement, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of of the holistic view of what procurement is from beginning to end, from like maybe even looking at opportunities up until you getting a contract. Okay. So the first thing is, I would say this is one of the most important things, and maybe the most, I would say, not the most daunting, but the second most daunting one is searching for proposals. So first is, where do you even find the opportunities, right? So then you find, oh my gosh, like people have mentioned Ramp LA. There's one through Cal eProcure, there's sam.gov, and then there are all these other like little vendor portals that you can register Planet Bids. So then where do you find these different opportunities? And it's kind of, I would say, to simplify it is, first think about where you want to do business in. So let's say if you are a business that's brick and mortar and you're located within the city, and it's not like you can travel, to Northern California to look for proposals or respond to those proposals for your product or service, then what you're gonna look for proposals for would be Ramp LA, which is citywide, right? So what you do is you register through these organizations that really fit what the geographic location that you're looking for, right? So then, yeah, so that one, first one is searching for a proposal. So one is searching online, as I've mentioned, so using Ramp LA. But the second one that is, I think, maybe underrated, is actually going to those networking events, and then meeting the procurement officers. So, for example, some of you may have gone to the Sports and Entertainment Summit that PACE in the city had back in October. So we had some procurement officers there. And then also one thing I just remembered is that there is a procurement fair that LAUSD will be holding in on December 11th. So that would be this week. So that would be another way to meet procurement officers as well, and then meet them face to face, right? So now you've looked for proposals, right? And then second is preparing to bid. So now I think this is one of those things where, as I mentioned before, so whether it's registering your business to ensure that it is registered in government databases, right? So, like the city, county, state, or federal level, obtaining any necessary certifications that you may need or you may qualify for. And so that could be, I would say, the few of the most popular ones would be the Department of General Services from California has a small business certification, and then there's also one through the city as well, which is a local small business enterprise. So looking and seeing, and the thing is, people also ask me about the timeline. When do I do this? So you can do them concurrently. You're looking for proposals, right? And you may not find proposals within the sector that you're looking for, within your industry. But what you do is when you go to these different portals, is that you set yourself keywords, so then they send you notifications immediately. So as you're waiting for that one, then you can make your preparation. You can look for any certifications that you may qualify for, and you can create a capability statement, right? The business resume. So then when you're going in person to some of these events, then you have a capability statement that you can actually show to them. So typically, what I recommend is that when you go to some of these industry events or procurement events, is that you have your business card and you have your capability statement attached to it. So then they would know you beyond just like a simple business card. And then also reviewing any procurement documents and thoroughly reading the RFPs that you find on the website, or any request for quotations, to understand the requirements, the deadlines, and also the evaluation criteria. So now that you've looked for proposals, you actually found one, and you said, you know what, I'm gonna go for it. So then they have this thing called the pre-bid meetings. So these are meetings which gives you the opportunity to actually participate and ask questions. So one of the things that I do recommend is that you look and see if the pre-bid meetings are mandatory. So they have mandatory ones and non-mandatory ones. So the reason why they're really good to attend is that, first, if it's mandatory, you can't bid unless you attend it. They actually take your attendance. However, if it's non-mandatory, I still recommend that people go, because let's say you are a subcontractor and you're just looking, you're not ready to make the big bid. However, you wanna look for contractors or primes that may be participating, or thinking about bidding. So these pre-bid meetings are a really great way to look for them. So I actually had a client who found her contractor, her prime, and she was a subcontractor, because she went to one of these online pre-bid meetings, and then they just, she looked at who was attending and then reached out to them via chat. And so it's really as simple as that one. So I like these pre-bid meetings, because it's a way for you to actually network virtually online with other contractors or even subprimes that you can partner up with. So then now it's submitting the proposal. So obviously this is the most daunting one. It's just, this is very simplified, but I'm just, kind of giving you the brief overview of making sure that you read the proposal very thoroughly. And second is you gather the supporting documents, and then prepare all necessary documentation to ensure that, such as financial statements, references, and then proofs of insurance. Because what happens is you have a big proposal, and a lot of them are exhibits. So the exhibits could be, you need to submit insurance, you need to submit a work plan, you need to submit a budget. So just making sure, A, that you read the proposal, and then B, you submit it in a way that they want you to submit it to a T. So whether it's like, oh, you want, in one, and I've seen a proposal before, they said, okay, we want it to be 1 inch margin all throughout, single point, no graphics and stuff like that. So then it was very, very particular. But really, it's also a way to make sure that, A, it's for the ease of the reader, and B, also they want to make sure that you've actually read the proposal, and that you follow the direction. So then, as I said, follow the submission guidelines and submit your proposal according to what they say. Some of them will say submit it in a portal. Some of them will say submit it via email, right? But one of the things though is that if you do have any questions, that's why it's good to have the pre-bid meeting so you can compile the questions beforehand. And then also they also when you look at the timeline, there's also a timeline um, of dates of when they expect you to, let's say, respond to Q&As and stuff like that, right? So if you do have any questions, they have a required deadline of when you can submit questions. Let's see. Oops. Oops, there we go. So now that you've submitted the proposals, the next thing would be reporting to any follow-ups. So I would say maybe more frequently than I thought before is that people, let's say there's a proposal and you've submitted your information. What happens also is that they'll say, okay, you may have forgotten something or they require clarifications. They will actually respond to, to any follow-ups. So they may have any follow-ups for you. So making sure that you prepare for the questions and be ready to answer them and follow up with any documentation or any further questions that they have that they can provide. But which is a good thing, right? So that means if they followed up with you, you're either in the short list or they're interested in you. So I think it's a really good indication when they are asking you for follow-ups. And then lastly is like, my goal is always to get you to this point where you get the contract and now you're managing the contract. And so let's say, do you do end up getting the contract? It's a matter of receiving the notifications, um, the award. And then usually what happens is that once you, let's say they say, okay, you know what, you got the contract, there's also room for negotiations as well. So, you have some time to read over the agreement or the contract that they have before you sign it. And then also negotiate. So yeah, so you can negotiate the terms if applicable. So making sure that you negotiate the contract terms to clarify any questions that you have and that it's mutually agreeable between the two parties. Because at the end of the day, it's a contract between two people, so you're not obliged to go with all the terms that they have, right? So then it's this is your chance to actually ask for questions and then also negotiate some of the terms of the contract. And then fulfilling obligations, executing the contract as agreed. And and a lot of and then contracts are actually they vary, right? So I've seen them as a matter of a couple weeks or a couple months to multi-year contracts. So it's just a matter of really reading the contract terms. And then when you do the budget, you have to make sure that one thing that you really pay attention to is that the term that you're bidding, is it 1 year or is it a multi-year contract, right? So let's say you're saying, okay, you're bidding and then you're bidding 250,000 for this. Just making sure that it's, that what the contract term is and the length and the duration of it. Yes, and then also what's important is maintaining communication throughout the whole process so that you are aware of what's going on. And then the other thing I mentioned as well is the access to capital, because usually what happens is that, once you have the contract, and then if you are, let's say an example that I can think of is that if you are a staffing company, and I've had this before, let's say you're a staffing company and you have, you hire people. The thing is, you have to pay them first. So the government may not pay you first. So you have to make sure that you have the adequate working capital, the adequate funds to pay your people first before the government actually pays you. So it's really important to manage you know, it's happy, congratulations once you get the contract. But now, I think, the big lift is there too, making sure that you have the access to capital and then making sure that you also negotiate the terms, look at the terms, and then also be able to fulfill the terms of the contract. So here now, I'm gonna pause for a little bit and then talk about just a little bit of the key procurement terms. There you go. So some of you may have heard this one. These are fairly common. So first is request for proposal. So, as I mentioned before, this is just maybe something that you find on LA. There's a proposal, and it's just a request for you to respond to them, right? And then a request for a quotation is basically a simplified form. So instead of a whole proposal, so proposal is typically, I would say, maybe 40 to 60 pages. But that includes a lot of the exhibit and maybe a lot of paperwork. So a request for quotation is much simpler. And it could also just be a lot of it is for products. So let's say, hey, you know what? We're buying office supplies. Can you quote us if we buy X amount? Like, what would be your quotation? And then an invitation to bid is a formal invitation that's given by the agency or for the government for suppliers to submit their sealed bids for a project. And it's typically involving some fixed prices and specific requirements. So this one is not as common or not, yes, not as common. And then contract award is what we're hoping for, right? So let's say after you've after you've submitted the contract and you've actually gotten the award. So that's called contract award. And then bidder is obviously the business owner who's bidding on the project. And then the sole source is something that is also, it happens once in a while, and also depending on the agency and the amount of the project. And it's a procurement method where a contract is awarded to a single supplier without a competitive bidding process. So it's often qualified by unique qualifications or capabilities. So let's say you have a company that's pretty unique and you may not have much competition. So I think once the agency, the government finds out what you do, then you'll be able to get a lot of these sole source contracts or sole source invitations. Then a couple other procurement terms is one is called the scope of work. Scope of work is basically what you're entitled to perform, and it's stated in the proposal, right? So it's very detailed and tells you, you know what, for this amount of term, for let's say it's a 1 year contract, this is the scope of work that you're obliged to do. And then the supplier, the vendor would be the government agency. A performance bond and a payment bond is usually for construction companies. So it's basically, let's say a performance bond is a financial guarantee that the contractor will actually perform the terms of the contract. So protecting the government against any like non-performance. So it's a form of insurance so that you get as a contractor. So after you win, you get a performance bond, and it's something. So if you don't perform, then the government will collect on the bond. And then the same thing, same thought process with a payment bond, except this one is a bond that guarantees that a contractor um, will actually pay their suppliers according to what the contracts are. So let's say you are a contractor and then you have a supplier or a subcontractor, um, and just in case you don't pay them, then you get a bond, and then if you do non-payment, then this is what they'll collect from. All right. More terms. So, North American Industry Classification System, or called NICS or NAICS, is basically a code. So, every company in the US belongs to a specific industry code. So even as a matter of looking for opportunities on Ramp LA, they're going to ask it's important to identify your NICS code, because then when you're getting information or bids, what or notifications, it will be based on the NICS code. So it's very important to make sure that you identify the correct NICS code for your business. Otherwise, you're going to be getting proposals that are nonsensical or doesn't really pertain to what your business is. And then a unique entity ID is just basically an identifier that is associated with your company. All right. Sorry, I'm giving a lot of information, but I think we're just on the home stretch. Just a couple things. Best practices, right? So first, first thing I say is that it is very, very important that you find the opportunities, right? So whether you find them online or offline, you have to find out where the opportunities are. So first one is, if you're a subcontractor or a subprime, find out where the primes are. So whether it's an industry day or or an association, a trade association, or an event, make sure that you go and go look for them, right? Or even the pre-bid meetings, as I had mentioned. Build a subcontractor team. So this one, I would say an example would be typically, like, so I work a lot with marketing and event production companies. And so let's say there's a proposal and it's a marketing proposal, a big one, but then they have many different many different components. So it could be a marketing proposal, but then it has a digital marketing piece, a website piece, a PR piece, right? So it's really important to find out people that you can trust to be parts of the different subcontractor team. So then you can also parse out the work if necessary. And then also contact former contract partners. Make sure that you are in touch with them relationship wise. Then also get certified if it makes sense for you, right? So if you're a small business, get certified as a small business, as a veteran business. So make sure you get the certifications that you think will qualify you, and then register your company on the vendor portals that we had mentioned. All right. So I think at this point, Nisa and Roslyn, I can answer if there are any questions.
I did have one question from
Mm-hmm.
Angelica. She's asking specifically, have you seen childcare preschool educational services as um, an opportunity?
Um, yes, but is it I guess the question for her is that does she own a childcare facility? Because I've seen that one as well. So I was actually working with a woman a few years ago, and so she owned a childcare facility in Long Beach, and then she was bidding on one. Yeah.
Yes,
But
she
I don't,
does
yeah.
say she does own the facility.
Yeah, so I've seen those before. So basically where you provide the service and then and then they also yeah, and then that you own the facility. Yeah. So you know what, honestly, it's a matter of making sure that when you go on ramp, and then let's say if she's in the city of LA, making sure that you go on the right portal and then you find the right notifications, right? Because a lot of the notifications for procurement opportunities, they actually come, they come in a regular basis. So they could be monthly or they could be annually or like every couple of years. So it does come back. There's actually a pattern to it most of the time.
Yeah, so she's asking follow-up, what might be the portal for her to find these opportunities. So I
Yeah,
think,
is she,
yeah, go
mhm.
ahead.
If she is within this city, then the Ramp LA portal would be good for her because she's constrained to a geographical location, right? So then it's gonna be whatever city she's in.
Right. Yeah, well, thank you. She says thank you for that
You're welcome.
information. Um, so I guess as a follow-up question to that, for for business owners who might be outside of the city of LA, what would they be able to apply for an opportunity through Ramp LA?
Oh yes, yes, definitely, yeah. Yeah, so then I think those are the only ones are those are who are constrained to like a geographic location, right? So but yeah, you can do Ramp LA, which is just city of LA. You can do Cal eProcure, which is the whole entire state of California. So and then SAM.gov would be opportunities that are in the federal government.
Okay. Um, I guess another question I would have is maybe for those folks who are bidding for a contract for the first time or exploring it further. Could you talk a little bit more about, because I know that PACE is also operates Business Source Center, Like, how might those resources help in kind of procurement opportunities?
Yeah, great question. So basically, I kind of divide businesses between being ready, contract ready and non-contract ready, right? So if they're in the, let's say if they're a startup or they don't think they're contract ready, so PACE has different opportunities for business owners to really hone their skills and then provide, like leverage their operations to be contract ready. So whether that's in marketing or doing a website or cleaning up their financials. So we have counselors that will be able to help them in that first part of their business. And then once they're contract ready and they're ready, they find a proposal, then our team, the procurement team will be the ones that will handle them. Like then we will be their point of contact. Because what we do is we can help them with capability statements, helping them with the certifications, and then reviewing the proposals with them and before they submit it, and also the access to capital. So let's say you need a loan to float you for working capital, we can help you with that one as well. Oh, and free of charge. I always forget that these services are free of charge. I always forget to mention that.
Maybe
Yes.
if we can add the Business Source Center website or contact information in the chat for people who might want to follow up. Um, or they
Um,
could also maybe just contact you directly.
Yeah, so what happens is if they contact me directly, because then we have a few different business source centers, and then we also have like our main office in downtown LA. And then if you contact me, I can tell you, I can direct you to the appropriate person.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Um,
Christina, did you want to go into the FIFA 2026?
Yes, yes, exactly. So, and I don't have visibility on the types of businesses that are here, but essentially, FIFA is governed by. So let me back up. So there's this organization called LA Sports and Entertainment Commission. So what they do is they're a nonprofit organization that's based in LA, and what they do is they handle the sporting events outside of the Olympics. So the Olympics is handled by LA 28, but then FIFA, and then NFL, NBA, they're all handled by the LASEC. So I think it was about a month ago, the FIFA actually has a bid interest form that they release, and what it is like they have 12, maybe about 12 to 15 different industries that they're looking for vendors. So they'll say, okay, you know what? If you are in, I'm just trying to remember some of the industries. If you are in event production or marketing or food or catering, construction, and I think they have a different list, then, I would suggest that you go and fill out this form. And then if they are interested, they will put you on the short list. And I've had a couple people that are clients of mine that have been on the short list. So they're in the short list for FIFA. And then through that one, they became shortlisted for the NBA games. And unfortunately, I don't have the exact link of it, but what I can do is maybe Rosalind, I can send you the link later on.
I
Or
think
if
we're
they,
putting it, I think Nissa has just put it, the
oh, perfect.
interest form, FIFA interest form in the chat, and
Awesome.
also identified some of the needs that have been identified as
Oh,
well. So
perfect.
people
Yeah.
can kind of just get a sense of maybe what kinds of things that they're looking for.
Yeah, and then the thing with that one is that first, they you don't know when it closes. So for example, this is the third time I've seen it this year, but I think January, and I think it was open for a couple weeks, and then like mid-year it was open for a couple weeks, then they opened it up again. And then the industry also changes. I think it changes based on what they think their needs are. Because I remember the first one they had I think like hair and makeup and VIP. So as I said, procurement opportunities that you may not necessarily think of when you think of procurement. So, yeah, so make sure I think it's worth your while, even if you think like, because a lot of times I have clients too that I say, oh, I don't know if I fit in the category. And obviously if you're so far off from the category, don't fill it out. But then if you're kind of like I have a client, I go, you know what, you can fit into event production for real. So she ended up filling it out for event production.
Right. And also I think that if you sign up through Ramp LA and you're able to um, identify the areas of interest, you will get notified when those something in that category gets posted. At least
Yes,
that's been
yeah.
my experience. So maybe that's another way people can kind of get updated information about
Yes.
opportunities.
Yeah, and then actually you reminded me too. So the Olympic opportunities will also go through Ramp LA. So if you just if you set the notification to LA 28, it will send you those notifications. Because I think maybe about a month ago there was a notification for marketing for LA 28. So but it's since closed, but then I know that they're pushing the notifications through Ramp.